Well, welcome, everybody. I think we still have a few more people to join us, but it is now just past 2 o'clock in the United Kingdom, 3 o'clock in Europe, which is when we said we would start. So let's make a start. As you would have heard, this webinar is being recorded. Um, Feel free to keep your cameras on or not, as you wish. If you wish to make any comments or leave any questions, please use the chat function, and we will get to that after the presentation. My name's David Locke. I'm Secretary General of the Magna Carta Observatory, and it's been my pleasure to work with Martina and others in organising this essay competition. And it was also my pleasure to go to Cape Town with four of the winners where they presented their essays. What we're going to do this afternoon is just tell you a little bit about the competition. I will then introduce the three winners who are presenting this afternoon. They will say a word about their essays, why they wrote them, and what they've learned from that. And then we will have a time of discussion. This is the third year that the Magna Carta Observatory has organised an essay competition. It does it to engage with students. Traditionally, the Magna Carta would work with rectors of universities, but the student voice has always been important to us. And we've been looking for ways to hear that more clearly and enable that to be heard. And we've found that an essay competition is a very good way to do that. The title of the competition this year was Drawing on Your Own Experience, How Might Your University Engage More Effectively with Stakeholders, both to improve access to higher education for all and enhance the learning experience of students? And by stakeholders, we didn't just mean people outside the university. We also included students, who are, of course, most important stakeholders. 94 entries were received from 37 countries, and as in previous years, the judges had a pretty tough time to decide which 5 of them would be the prize winners. Now, the prize was an expenses paid trip to Cape Town to take part in the World Access to Higher Education Day conference and to work with the board of the World Access to Higher Education network. They also had a little time to see Cape Town and learn about it and to meet with other people in the conference as well. And we may say a bit more about that at the end. But now let's introduce our winners. And I've asked them just to say a little bit about themselves first before we do another round and talk about their essays. And let's go first to Nigeria and to Izuchukwu. Welcome.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Okechukwu Izuchukwu. I am from Nigeria. I hope you can hear me, sir.
We can.
Okay. My name is Okechukwu Izuchukwu. I'm from Nigeria, and I'm studying pharmacy in the University of Uyo, Nigeria. This is me in my 500 level, and I'm always someone who is open to any positive thing. So for me to write this essay is because I want to make change. to my campus where I'm coming from. A lot of things are happening here. And whenever I see opportunity like this, I don't cease to utilize it so that we can see there's a positive thing that will come to our place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now let's move around the world and go to Pakistan and to Hajra.
Hello, everyone. I hope I'm audible. So, my name is Hadja. I am currently a senior in university, so a fourth year undergraduate, and I'm studying biology. I just finished giving my senior thesis presentation, so that's out of the way. Yeah, I entered this competition because of things that happened at my university, which I will get into when we're talking about the essay. And I felt it was very pertinent. The topic was very pertinent to discuss in the current educational climate that we have. So,
Thank you very much. Carrying on round the world, going from west to east, our next stop is Canada, where Bella is.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bella, and I'm joining everyone today from Toronto, Canada, and where I'm currently at the third year, finished my third year at the University of Toronto, and I'm doing internship during my finishing my program. I'm studying political science, human geography, and urban studies. So, alongside my academics, I did residence done, learning abroad ambassadors, and right now as a co-op student, I'm doing special project and curriculum development assistant at my university, which I that is the reason why I entered this essay because I'm highly interested in the education and higher education too. So, yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. So let's go into a little more depth now and let's talk about the issues and the essays and what you learnt from the process. And Izuchaku, let's start with you.
Okay, thank you so much for giving me another opportunity to speak. Okay, here in this part of the world where we find ourselves here in Nigeria, a lot of things are happening, and I'm always happy when opportunity like this is being presented to students for them to express themselves. I hope you can hear me.
We can.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. So, in the course of studying pharmacy in the University of Uyo, I noticed so many things. Before you even gain admission into the higher institution here in Nigeria, you should pass what we call Joint Admission to Matriculation Board, which is JAMB. I would have added it as among of the barrier that stops students from accessing higher education in Nigeria. But then I wanted to add it in my essay when I was writing my essay. But then I changed my mind because such a barrier is just you and the jump board. Once you are able to get the high score, you have been given admission into the higher institution. So that's why I decided to title my essay "When the Gates Are Half Open" because admission is actually fair and is equal on papers. So there's nothing like partiality because you are a woman, because you are coming from this. Once you're able to pass joint admission and matriculation board, you have been given admission. But then once you enter the school itself, that is where you will see things happening. We find ourselves in a place where our system decide to confuse learning with survival. So ha, when I started my essay, I wanted to describe my class because I'm a person that used to write. I like creative writing. So I have some role models I used to read their books, somebody like Connie Hoover, somebody like MC Fagden, Mega Queen, and so many of them. So when I saw the title for the essay for this year, 2025, it happened to speak on the book I've already written, I called Immaculate Faith. If I had copied only the chapter one of it and submitted, pretty sure it would have still been marked, because in that my chapter one, I decided to describe the university. The university here is not as it's supposed to be, because here we are mainly trying everything possible just to pass. That is mainly what it means. Once you enter the university, you notice that we don't have infrastructure. When I started, I said you walk into a lecture hall with a leaking roof, carrying your own marker in case the lecturer forgets his. I'm not actually trying to just paint a scenario. It's actually what is happening. As a matter of fact, the other day, our lecturer announced that at least everyone should have his or her own marker in your bag. So, you find it difficult here to assess the full education when you have been given access to it. You find yourself just struggling to survive, struggling to pass through a lot of stress just for you to get that education that you want. And I wanted to summarize my essay just with bringing one issue in all the whole numerous issues I listed, because your words actually limited us. You just said less than 1,000 words. So when I saw it, I was like, how can I express myself fully with only less than 1,000 words? So I decided to go for the summary part of it. But if you notice, you will, just me, I just noticed that most of the problem we have here in Nigeria, they are all circled in one thing. We say that we have, in our constitution, we have freedom to study. That is freedom to education. You have freedom to access education here in Nigeria. It is in your right. But let me tell you that that freedom to education is under a threat, under the threat of electricity, under the threat of mental health, no mental health provision for students, under the threat of, when I say the of permit me to use that language, the one we call Academic Staff Union of University, that is ACSU. This board is actually a board set up to be in the helm of affair of everything that has to do with higher education as it concerns lecturers. This is where they found themselves. And there's what they call strike. And this strike has been like a stumbling block to all of us here in Nigeria. You'll be given admission to study, let's just say, social science, maybe 4 years course. Yeah. But you are going to spend more than 4 years. You may end up spending 7 years to study just 4 years course because of Academic Staff Union of University strike. Sometimes they call it warning strike. It's always 2 weeks of warning strike. As a matter of fact, as of a few weeks ago, we just enjoyed what they called their 2 weeks of warning strike. This warning strike is always like a signal to tell the federal government, you have not paid me for so months, and because of that, I am angry. If you fail to comply, we are going to go on a strike. Sometimes the federal government, they doesn't even care. Most of them, I don't know, is it because when I check around, I always see that some of their anybody coming from their lawyers doesn't even go to Nigeria University. And so most of them, most of their children, they are in abroad, King's College, all these sweet schools abroad. That is where they used to send their children to. And that's why they always, they don't show interest in things that concerns higher education here in Nigeria. And so even to pay lecturers, they will not pay. And you know, when two elephants are fighting, it's only the grass that used to bear the consequences. We are the one that used to bear the consequences. When the system fell, we are the one that used to bear the consequences. And so when you are talking about how to engage stakeholders effectively to, you know, make a higher education accessible and to enhance learning experience, I decided to bring it down to the grassroots. I decided to speak on students being the major that we should consider, because if you should include students in the decision making of most of the things that concerns we in higher education, we will have a saying. And because of us saying one or two things, I think a little change will be done, because I don't think if these people are actually hearing our cry, not that we don't used to go on a protest, but even after going on a protest, we did that end up making the problem to be worse. So just as you are now, when I put to the other side, I said teaching as performance versus teaching as a partnership. I now describe a scenario where a lecturer walk into the class, just dictate for 90 minutes, no question, no practical, and nothing. I'm actually trying to paint it as it used to happen here. Because when you are not even motivating lecturers, how do you want them to do their work very well? Okay, when we were learning farm management the other day, our lecturer taught us on what we call motivation, how to motivate workers. So if you are motivating workers, they are going to have this zeal to do the work. But here, there's nothing like motivation to even these lecturers. And so it always make them to just be doing a perfunctory work. And all these things is on us. Once we come to class and you do a prefatory work in the name of teaching, you actually the thing is affecting us, not the lecturers. So if the system here in Nigeria should make higher education what the struggle, I think they should work on so many policies so that the lecturers will be receiving enough motivation so that they'll be happy to help the student. They'll be happy to teach the students what they actually need. Because here, not only here, they said a hungry man is an angry man. Can you imagine working in an organization and you are not paid for 7 months? How do you feel? Even if you want to work, you will just be working for the sake of, you will not use your heart to work. So it's like I have used more than my time, but what I'm trying to, in conclusion, I just feel like our problem can be solved if we should see it as problem and if we should understand the value of education. The other day I was reading a book and they said if a country should stand, that they should work on two things, education and their health sector. But here, education and health sector is what the system has neglected. And so it makes learning that's supposed to be filled with experience a survivor. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much indeed. I hope colleagues on the call will read your full essay, because you break it down into a number of different points. I mean, what you've brought out about the pedagogy and tutors enabling students to learn rather than just simply talking at them, I think is hugely important. But when in Magna Carta we look at how universities serve society, universities are doing far more than just imparting knowledge, however they are doing that. And that would include preparing students to be responsible democratic citizens and all sorts of things that you talk about very, very well in the essay. So thank you very much indeed, and we hopefully will return to some of those issues. Now, next, back to Pakistan, where the focus of your essay is on the student organization, the student union, another important part of the fabric of universities. Over to you, Hajra.
Hello, everyone. So my essay and like what inspired me to write the essay, I'll start with that first. So this spring, the student council elections at my university were very abruptly suspended because there were allegations of bribery and misconduct against some of the presidential candidates. So once these elections were suspended, the entire process was handed over to a faculty committee for like investigation. So, but not a single student representative was included in this investigation, and there were no alumni as well. So to me, this kind of screamed at the fact that the older generation did not place trust in the hands of the younger generation. We weren't given the responsibility to fix our own mistakes. Like we were trusted to, carry out the entire election campaign, debate, and vote for our chosen candidates, but we weren't allowed to handle our own problems when they came about. When these are the exact things that student government, student council, student unions help us learn. They are kind of a mini version of the politics we face outside university and outside the educational setting. And they're often where a lot of very influential politicians start out in politics. And so this was very concerning to me, the fact that students weren't given the chance to reflect on what went wrong in these elections. And this also really reflects something wider in Pakistan's culture where power in general, not we're moving past the university setting now, but power in general in our government, even in from house to house, it stays in the same hands for too long. Older generations kind of dominate the decision making, and younger generations are told to respect their elders or wait their turn. That same attitude exists in our university because we're expected to not question anything, learn quietly, and leave the important decisions to faculty members or the university staff or the board. But this kind of makes the student council, in effect, useless in a way. And that's what I want to change, or that's what I hope to bring up through my essay. Giving students real responsibility is what is going to teach them to take responsibility in the future. It doesn't weaken the university, it in fact makes the students stronger. So when things do go wrong, like they did during this year's election, we shouldn't take away student involvement. We should improve it. A student should be part of the investigation process and deciding how to move forward from here. And this should be a lesson in accountability, but instead we were excluded from this. Um, and then that was one of the main points that I touched on my essay. And then the next point was about even when a student council is elected through fair means and everything goes as planned, there's the problem of representation on the student council. Often, the student council is made up of students from very similar backgrounds, those who already speak the loudest in a group setting or already feel like they belong, or those who come from elite schools, as we call them in Pakistan, where the medium of instruction is English, and you get most of the students go abroad to study. Those are kind of the students that end up being on student council if they are elected. But that brings about a huge problem of representation because there are many students in our university, especially through the National Outreach Program, which is a program where students from rural areas are kind of recruited to join the university on 120% scholarship. So they're fully supported through the stipend and through their tuition fees. And these students are often very neglected when it comes to representation in the student council because they they can't bring up those monetary means to campaign. They don't have the English language skills that the other candidates have. But these students deserve representation as much as anyone else, if not even more. So they have more problems and burdens that people who are not on financial aid or people who don't come from disadvantaged backgrounds, we can't even imagine what they're going through. Their food vouchers often don't stretch far enough into the month. The language and the culture on our campus can feel very isolating. And then when it comes to student government, their voices are very rarely heard. Um, this is a huge missed opportunity because these students have a deep understanding of what equity really means, and they could offer insights which could help the council serve the entire student body better. But they're not ever elected or brought up to that level of authority or responsibility. So, towards the end of my essay, I argued that the best model of a student council would be one that is built on inclusivity, representation, but also autonomy. We need to be separate from, the governing bodies of our university, like the faculty, the other stakeholders, the more like the board, the university board, because we are also stakeholders. Students are, I would argue, the most important stakeholders in our universities. And I kind of brought in some research which showed that student participation in university administration can actually reduce political tension on campuses and improve the organizational climate overall. But for that to happen, participation must be meaningful and not performative. Currently, the student council model that we have is very performative because it is not autonomous. Everything has to go through the admin, everything has to go through faculty. And Yeah, that's my argument for an autonomous and representative student council. That's what my essay is about.
Well, thank you very much indeed. And just to
Thank you.
comment that it is not just a problem in Pakistan. I was reading some material over the weekend, which is a review of the governance of British universities. And one of the points made very, very strongly is that all members of the governing body are equal. It used to be that there would be one or two students on the governing body, and among some people, there would be a perception that the students were somehow less equal to the older other members. And this review makes it unequivocally clear that all students who are members of the governing body are equal to all other members on the governing body. The other thing which I'll just mention now, but we may come back to, is our partner for this essay competition is the World Access to Higher Education Network. And what concerns that network is that students anywhere, regardless of their wealth or background, if they have the ability to benefit from higher education, they should have the opportunity for that education. And that, I think, is very much related to what you're saying about students from whatever background having the opportunity to get involved in their universities and to play an equal part. So thank you for that. And I should have said earlier on, the essays of all our 5 winners are on the Magna Carta's website. If you go to the bit, which is about the essay competition, you will find the winning essays there. Let's hear from our third winner. Bella, would you tell us your story, please?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for this opportunity and glad that I got one of the winner. But I wrote this essay because when I was doing the residence done, I kept witnessing the same patterns of the students who are really academic brilliant, often decline the opportunities with such as networking opportunities, mentorship program, cultural activities, and like collaborative projects, even when this opportunity would enhance their learning and access. So that kind of wondered me a lot. So why would like capable and this ambitious students kind of avoid resource designed to support them? And that questions led me to identify what I call the student agency paradox. So the very independence that helps students succeed academically often prevents them from engaging with stakeholders who could help them grow personally and professionally, I think. So students want to like succeed their own terms, but that same mindset also isolate them and leaves them many opportunities untapped. So there are some few things that I learned while I'm writing this essay. So through my work, especially with the first generations and international students as a resident student, I learned like low engagement is not about the laziness of the students or the lack of ambitions. So the students often reject the opportunities because they feel they don't have time, they don't know the stakeholders actually offers, or they feel intimidated because especially when they are having lack of cultural or professional experiences. So I realized that the most engagement models assume students will adapt to stakeholders, but the students who needs most support, the most are the least positions to do that. So that's what I learned, and the I think the traditional models like don't work for the underrepresented students, such as when we are hosting a lot of networking events through the campus. I think it doesn't help for the other students who has to do the part-time work, who has a lot of work to study. So I realized that the university is like unintentionally like reinforce inequality by treating engagement as something extra. So the student has to do the extra things to go for the networking events and cultural events. But there are some students who cannot do that and afford that. So the engagement must be kind of integrated, so not adding on to that. So for the most transformative lessons for me was students already have a strong agency, I think, but the university are not leveraging those things. So I developed the idea of the reverse integration, so a model that embed stakeholders engagement into students' natural routines instead of like forcing students to change their habits or their life. So I learned that when engagement becomes seamless, it just happens where students already like study, socialize, and collaborate. That can be participation increase and confidence grow. So the message that I want to share in the end of my essay was invisible networking is actually working. So when, for example, when like alumni mentors, that's one of my stakeholders that I wrote in the essay. So when they show up in the study spaces, not in the like fancy networking rooms, students can approach them organically, and the real mentorship will be happen in the quiet moments, not a formal event. So um, maybe it's just for the formal, not the formal area, but they could just show up in the informal space. And also, I think the peer leaders are one of the multipliers of their for the students. So from my experience, from forming partnerships as a learning abroad ambassadors, I learned that students respond most strongly to other students. So not the staff member or the alumni or the mentors. Sorry, excuse me. So the peer leaders can translate these opportunities in ways that feel culturally relevant and emotionally safe, especially for the underrepresented students. Also, they can be the teacher. So the peer, mentor, teacher, they can teach each others. So yeah. So the takeaway from my essay was like, in my last paragraph of the essay, I just wrote that how do we get students to engage with stakeholders in to instead asking how do we embed stakeholders within student existing success patterns. So we should think about it in a different way as how does the alumni or the mentors can be embedded into our student space. So that's basically about my essay. Um, yeah, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Bella. Um, Colleagues would have heard, I think there are some quite strong connections
Mm.
um, between what our three winners are saying. And please do put your comments or your questions in the chat. We're a small enough group for us to bring you online to join in with the discussion. But I just want to do one or two things. One of our colleagues who was with us in Cape Town, but is not able to be with us this afternoon, Harleen. Harleen was born in an Indian village in Haryana, and I think she hit everybody between the eyeballs when she told her story. And that was her father saying to her mother when Harleen wanted to go and study, why should we spend money on her education when we should be saving for her marriage? A very, very cultural piece, and it I was in the meeting and it just absolutely hit the members of that board between the eyeballs. And this is a group of people that have been looking at widening access to higher education for a long time. And Harleen goes on to tell her story that that actually made her more determined to be successful. Her mother could see what she wanted to do. She went away, she got good grades, and so on. And she's now a postgraduate student on a scholarship in Canada doing field work in Denmark. And she was a wonderful member of our team in Cape Town, and I think a future missionary for the widening higher education cause. So I wanted to tell that story because I think that sums up so vividly what the issue is, and it's a huge cultural issue. And my guess is that most of the people on this call have overcome that in some way, shape, or form, including me, because I'm the first member of my family to go to university. My father was a lorry driver, and the rest is history. But I want to just make some links from your essays, and then perhaps we can pick up some of the points. Izuchaku, you, as one of the headings in your essay, very succinctly put this: students are not just customers, we are builders too. And I think that is so true because you're not only building in your subject, you're not only building for your career, but you're building in your programs, you're building your university. And within that headline is one of the reasons why the student voice is so important in universities, and why we do what we can to help bring it out. Hajra, in your situation, you make a point about how people of higher classes, let me put it that way, are more involved, or think they are more involved, or think they are more influential in elections. Let me just pause there for a minute. What thoughts do you have about how universities might try to rectify that position? Is there anything they can do around the rules of elections, for instance? Encouraging people. What would you say to colleagues in the room about what their universities might do?
So I think definitely, as we talked about in the board meeting as well, most universities have like a limit on spending for campaigns, which my university does not. So that definitely needs to be implemented, and not just my university, but in other universities where that's not already implemented, because that kind of evens the playing field financially, especially because you can't spend more than a certain amount on your campaign. And then secondly, I know it's been established that the quota system very rarely works in the long term, but in the short term, at least, we must have a dedicated seat or a dedicated subcommittee for members of the National Outreach Program that I mentioned earlier. That would like give them the representation to discuss their issues on the stage of the student council, especially. So that's again the having a specific subcommittee is the longer term goal, but for the short term goals, we need to kind of have a quota on how many people can be selected that on the student council that are from financial aid backgrounds or from non-financial aid backgrounds, because currently it's very asymmetric in a way. So
Mm. And Bella, coming to your essay, you make, I think, the very important point about students influencing other students, students looking to other students. Um, what more do you think universities might do to enable that to happen? Obviously, in your situation, you've been involved in doing quite a lot, but what would you say to colleagues on the call about what they might do?
So first of all, students are really independent and they're thinking the other peers are like just for the competitors and I have to get a better grade other than my friends or the
Mm.
peers. So they just not listening to other peers a lot, or it's kind of being offended to get advice from the peers. So first of all, it might be better. One of my suggestion is to build up the activities or um, the ideas of that the peers are not just your competitors or you cannot just work independently when you go out to the like social when you graduated and when you're doing work as a professionally you need like collaborations and you need somebody's help too so and in the first year of the university it will be good that to like matching the peers together or one or two people and make a group to like discuss about their situations and what kind of the area that the other people can help to the other person like that. So there are a lot of ways that that the university can support, but the thing is the university is just asking, just doing it as a program, like the mentorship program or the other program, which is they're doing it annually and doing a lot, but it's just a program and students are doing that because to build up their extracurricular, not just to wonder about the other students or peers. So hopefully the university can build up those environment more friendly about like how that the students are caring about the other students. So yeah, that's the one of the other suggestions. Yeah.
One of the things which often strikes me as strange
Mm,
is that the majority of assessment in universities
mhm.
is done by the individual, right?
Yes.
You sit alone with a
Yeah.
paper, or you sit alone and you write an essay.
Hmm.
My eyes were opened by one university which had a method of group assessment, right?
Yeah.
You had a problem to solve, you were put in random groups of six.
Hmm.
You had to assign different roles to people,
Hmm.
and the assignment was eventually marked, and it was marked in two ways. There was a group mark, and there was a mark for everybody's contribution.
Hmm.
Now, what that did was it didn't just get you to look into the particular problem, it caused you to work with your colleagues,
Hmm.
collaborate with your colleagues, and
Yes.
develop the sort of skills that
Hmm.
you'll actually use when you're at work.
Hmm.
In whatever profession you kind of go into. Now, my example's an old one, and I hope that around the world more people are doing that. But it comes back to it's a Chucky's point about the pedagogy being very limited to, I stand there and I tell you,
Yeah.
not I create an environment where you can learn and you can learn other skills of working with people. How do you react to that?
Well, yeah. For my thought is, as you said, I think university is not just the academic institutions, but also the students are also learning about the traditional transfer skills in university. So I think that is one of the most important things that students has to learn before they go to go out for the work. And then I think it is really limited right now. And a lot of the university now are doing a lot of group projects and they are um well grading like as a group and as a participations, what the contributions in their group, but still they are not that resonated together. Like they're not together as a group. They're just doing the work independently, but um,
Mm.
just show as a group. So the thing is, we cannot, well, change their personality or things because the word is being independently more and more, I think. But when we teach them a lot, not teach them, but like when we make a group of the students and try to make a actually like as a friend, and there are a lot of different different things to learn about for the each peers. So they could learn that, oh, this I don't have these skills, but I can learn the skills from the other peers like that. So they can be more humble, or and I have to collaborate with these peers because they have those and I can give these skills to the other people. So I think this kind of the thoughts are has to be more broadly than now, to collaborate with other people and being more open to other peers too in university. Yeah.
Well, thanks for that. Now let's just start to draw to a close. I'm going to ask each of you, or invite each of you to make a sort of final comment. You may want to pick up on, what you said earlier on, or what somebody else has said earlier on. And what would you want to say to other people on the call about why they should enter the essay competition in 2026? Where should we start? Izuchukwu, would you like to start?
Thank you so much for giving me another opportunity. Oh, to students out there, just like I put it, we are not just consumers, we are builders too. Well, if they say that if you are wearing a shoe, you know where the pen is coming from. If you are in a kind of institution that we find ourselves here, nobody is even going to tell you to utilize every opportunity that you see. See opportunity like this, you grab it because this is the only way that your voice can be heard, and this is the only way that you're even using to succeed here. Because I remember I'm not the type of person that used to write essay before. It was my friend called Elijah that introduced me because I was actually looking for money to put some of my bill. And then he introduced me that if I should start writing essay, sometimes you will win and they are going to, do one or two things for you. And that was why I started writing. And if you're not writing like this, how are people going to hear your voice? For what you are suffering from your university, your problems not even being solved. Like recently, we check our portal only to find out that there's increment in school fees by more than 70%. No one is even telling us anything. Why there's increment in the school fees? Nobody. So so many. If you want to go on a protest, sometimes you end up causing problem. This is the only means that we can use to express ourselves. If you see something like this as a student, you should grab it. And not only that, what about the price? Somebody like me, because of the barriers you are facing here, I couldn't even take some of my price, going to South Africa to follow for the world access to higher education network. There are so many other things. I mean, essay ideas, they are opportunity for you to, make your face to be seen and your voice to be heard. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And one of the things that really impressed me, one of last year's winners was not able to take up his prize last year, but he came to London a month ago and shared with us in the Magna Carta's anniversary. And like you three people, what was so impressive about him was his wish to improve his environment. He'd understood it, he'd understood the limitations of it, And he wasn't content just to sit back. He wanted to do something to enable other people and so on. And I think that's a common feature of all of the people who have entered this particular competition. Now, Hajra seems to have dropped off the call. So Bella, what would you like to share with people?
Yeah, so first of all, I knew this as a competitions because I just searched it up. Some of the essay competition this showed up and I'm really interested in the higher educations. And when I'm kind of researching and writing the essay, I learn a lot about what is the problem of our university and know more about how can we make better word for the higher education institutions. So that's the first things that I want to say. When you're actually writing the essay, that will be the great experience that you will get for to know more about the topics. And the second one, the prize was wonderful for me. I went to South Africa and I met a lot of people over there, a lot of professionals over there. First, the nature in South Africa was really wonderful, and the experience was really cool. Table Mountain, I saw the penguins too, and waterfront. And was really grateful that I had that opportunity to go to the South Africa because I would never think about that kind of opportunity if I would not uh, get or win for this essay. So I would say just try it for next year's essays. Like just try it, and when you win that essay, you will get a really exceptional, really cool experience over there. And because this institution will give you a lot of good opportunity. You should take it, and and of course you will meet a lot of people, professionals over there too, that you will never meet unless you just attend this this cool uh yeah, this cool meetings and conference. I mean, yeah, so the conference was really insightful too and broadened my um, knowledge. And I met a lot of good colleagues over there too, the other winners, so around the world. So I'm really grateful for this opportunity. Yeah, thank you.
Well, I think we were very grateful to you and
Mhm.
the other winners as well. And Hajra has just rejoined us, so I'll come to her in a minute. But I think what I would observe was that the winners joined in. I think you asked as many questions in the main conference as other participants. And what some of the people who've been running universities for years and years
Mhm.
got to realize firsthand was what the student perspective was, what the issue was. And you all articulated it extremely clearly.
Mhm.
But let's go to you, Hajra. What are the final thoughts that you would like to share?
I firstly I wanted to talk about the kind of common theme amongst all of our essays, which was that students are like should be in collaboration rather than competition. And I think that was evident throughout not just our essays, but also Megan and Harleen. Um, Collaboration is really the way we get anything done. And then I wanted to really talk about the trip to Cape Town because that was a very special thing for me. And, meeting Bella, Megan, and Harleen, and everyone else at the conference, the board of Wahen. Just amazing. Cape Town is like one of the most beautiful cities I've ever been to, and it was really fun exploring Table Mountain and kind of exploring the waterfront as well, and everywhere else we went with the whole group. It was just great. The food was really good as well. So, yeah.
Very good. Well, thank you all very much indeed for entering, for sharing. Izuchuki, we look forward to an opportunity when we work with you in person. I have a meeting in January where we will decide where the prize will be. What I'd like to share with everybody is there will be an essay competition in 2026. We will announce it around about April. Essays in before the close of the Northern Hemisphere summer term, so July, and then the judges work over the summer, and our expectation is that the prize will be towards the end of next year. Do stay in touch with Magna Carta. We will announce the prize as we have, or announce the competition as we have done this year, over social media, over the website. We work with the Global Student Forum, so if you are connected with that forum, you will get to see it. We would welcome entries from you. My nightmare every year is that we will get so many entries that the judges won't be able to cope, and it would actually be a wonderful problem to have, although we do get a pretty good number of entries at the moment. So thank you everybody for joining us this afternoon. I hope you've managed to glean the essence of what our young writers have been saying. I hope any university leaders on the call would have heard those messages and will take them forward and see how they can act on them in their universities. And for everybody, take care, stay safe, and hopefully see you at another one of these occasions. Thank you.